UFC Fight Night Evloev versus Murphy is almost here this Saturday. Prelim starting at noon Central Time with the main card being at 3 p.m. And it's fine. I think this card will be definitely more interesting than it looks. At least for name value, it's lacking pretty heavily just throughout the card, but I think we'll see quite a few finishes, at least in the prelims. I'm going to say at least 3 or 4. I'm going to say 4. And then the card, like the main card, I'll go over my predictions. But for now, let us go ahead and start with the main card, with the very first fight of the night on the main card being Kurtis Campbell versus Danny Silva. And there really isn't too much to say about Kurtis Campbell, being that this is only his first fight outside of the Contender Series, coming off a Contender Series win via knockout. Going up against Danny Silva, who by no means is an absolutely electric fighter. I mean, talent-wise, I will say his one loss, notably, was against Kevin Vallejos, but he didn't get finished. That is a positive. But used to fight in the LFA, got in the Contender Series decision, winning against Angel Pacheco, who's kind of a young prospect that they're trying to feed through. Yeah, Santiago Luna is who they were trying to feed them. But yeah, if you remember this, he fought on the Fight Night Mexico card. Not very good, and that's kind of just how Danny Silva's record looks, is these guys just aren't very good. Lucas Almeida, not very good. Angel Pacheco, not very, there's just nothing too impressive, I would say. But Kurtis Campbell, however, a little more impressive of a resume, being, the champion of CFF, or FCC, sorry. This resume is definitely a little more impressive. I mean, he really likes to go for the finishes. Definitely a knockout artist, wants to keep it standing. One win by submission, though. That is something to make note of. But this is also his first fight outside of the Contender Series. And so it leaves me in an odd position where obviously they bring in an English guy that they believe can beat someone like Danny Silva. However, I think that Danny Silva may have the edge in terms of experience, and a lot of these guys coming off the Contender Series, some of them just kind of fall face flat and continue just to go 1-2 in their next 3, or maybe 0-3. Maybe not keep the momentum they built, but I'm gonna go with Danny Silva via decision. I think this should go the distance. I don't really see either of these guys getting finished, especially someone like Danny Silva. I mean, it's featherweight. These guys have a little bit of power, but you're not really going to see too many knockouts in featherweight. But losing to Kevin Vallejos via decision, that's not a bad loss. So I'm going to go with Danny Silva via decision. I think he's going to show a little more experience, at least in the UFC, even though he has kind of fought some cans. But I think it's more or less a coin flip. Moving on, up next, Roman Dolidze versus Christian Leroy Duncan. Roman Dolidze, 9-4 in the UFC. I mean, he's 37. His most recent loss was to Imavov, Marvin Vettori, and Anthony Hernandez. Those are his most recent losses. And his only notable win, at least recently, is Kevin Holland. Which, I mean, as a journeyman, Kevin Holland's kind of an on and off fighter. And Marvin Vettori, Anthony Smith to decision. I mean, come on. I think Christian Leroy Duncan gets this done. I think Christian Leroy Duncan has a little more power in his hands. I think he's going to come in and he's going to push the pace here. He's going to look for the knockout, and I think he's going to get it against Roman Dolidze. I'm going to say maybe he gets the knockout in the 3rd round. That'd be my guess. That is my prediction. Up next, Iwan Baranowski, I probably butchered that, versus Austin Lane. Austin Lane is a can. 2-5 in the UFC. His only wins are against Robert Despelin and against Richard Jacoby. And the Richard Jacoby fight was on the Contender Series. He's lost 3 times via knockout, and he also got submitted by Vitor Petrino in July. I He's just not good. It's not very good. I think Iwan Barnowski is going to come in here. I think he's going to knock him out. He's 2-0 in the UFC. He's on a 5-fight knockout streak in the first round. But he also does have the potential to submit you as well. His jiu-jitsu game is pretty solid. He comes in with a 6-inch height advantage, but I don't think that's going to stop him from coming in and sort of blitzing Austin Lane. I mean, you touch Austin Lane on the chin with anything, he's going to go down. I think maybe Austin Lane keeps him at distance, maybe gets in danger towards the end of the first round, and I think he gets knocked out in the second very early. So I'll go with Iwan Barnowski. As I said, definitely butchered that. Getting the knockout in the second round versus Austin Lane. Up next, here's where I'm a little unsure. Michael Venom Page, we know him as a point striker. He's not a volume guy. He blitzes in quickly. He throws an overhand or a hook, and he hits you really hard and then backs up and just does like an MO. Everyone's going to tell you the same thing. It's how he fights. And he's going up against a guy like Sam Patterson, who I think is going to be able to put the pressure on him. If we look at Michael Venom Page's record, it is pretty good. I mean, Shara Magomedov, mid, hate to say it. Kevin Holland, I already said all I had to say. Lost to Ian Gary by decision. Fair. Took Jared Kennedy to decision. I think he's just getting a little late in his career. I don't know if he gets knocked out, though. I think maybe what Sam Patterson... Let's take a look at Sam Patterson there real quick. Sam Patterson is going to put definitely a lot more pressure on Michael Venom Page. But on top of that, these guys used to spar together. So I think it's a little odd that they're making them fight. I mean, no one wants to fight people that they're friends with, especially if you're sparring partners. But, I mean, Sam Patterson, I think he's going to be able to keep the distance pretty minimal. I mean, they have pretty much the same reach. They've sparred quite frequently, and I think Michael Venom Page is pretty one-dimensional in his striking. And it can be frustrating for a lot of young guys, absolutely. But I think Sam Patterson is young enough to where he can close up that gap and not just let him point strike away to a victory, barely eking out rounds. I don't know. As I said, this one's going to be a little tough just because I'm so used to seeing Michael Venom Page being able to squeak out these wins just by being sort of a nuisance. But I think Sam Patterson can close the gap. I think maybe he gets this done via decision, but I'm going to go with a third-round knockout, maybe pretty late or pretty early, just depending on how the end of the second round goes. I mean, if Michael Venom Page, completely, full cardio, comes into the first round, Sam Patterson maybe having a little bit of issues trying to keep him, cutting off the cage, maybe lacking a little bit of experience that might be required to beat someone like Michael Venom Page, who's definitely a veteran of, the sport. I think Sam Patterson can get it done, maybe via decision, but I'm going to go by third-round knockout. Moving up next, Luke Riley versus Michael Aswell. Luke Riley only having one fight in the UFC, and that being a win against Bogdan Grad via knockout, and that was on November 25th. The guy's a kickboxer. I mean, he was undefeated in the Cage Warriors promotion, had 6 TKOs via punches, 3 knockouts / technical knockouts, and then 2 wins via decision. I think his takedown defense really isn't that great. He got taken down by Bogdan Grad in the first round and really struggled to get up, but was able to get up after a lot of time where just Bogdan was wrestle fucking him for about 2.5 minutes, just doing pretty much nothing. I think this is a good matchup for Luke Riley. I mean, Michael Aswell has only ever shot a takedown, has never shot a takedown in his 3 fights in the UFC. And as well, Michael Aswell, he's only 1-2 with the loss of Bogdan Grad and Balaji Oki, who we just saw get slept out cold. But his loss to Bogdan Grad was on the Contender Series via split decision. I don't think Bogdan Grad's horrible. I just think that he's fairly one-dimensional at the moment until we see his game evolve. But I think this is going to be a war. I mean, the fight he had against Bogdan Grad, at the time, he was putting out 150 significant strikes with 307 attempted. About a 50% accuracy. I mean, I think Michael Aswell can kind of put the hurt on. But his only win in the UFC was against Lucas Almeida, who is not very good. I think Luke Riley comes in. I think he's going to be able to put out the volume that's necessary as an experienced kickboxer. And I don't think Michael Aswell is going to be trying to shoot the takedowns or kind of wrestle. I think we're gonna see Luke Riley walking out here with a decision win over Mike Aswell. Just being able to really kind of put the damage on that's required to win. I think he's gonna be able to up the volume and just really put the hurt on. The significant strike per minute does look a little bit weird. As I said, he was getting wrestle fucked by Bogdan Grad just for 2.5 minutes in the first round, and there just really wasn't a lot of volume. So I think Luke Riley gets this done via decision. And finally, on to the main event. Movsar Evloev versus Lerone Murphy. Movsar Evloev decided to finally come and fight after taking, I think he didn't fight in 2025. The guy's a decision merchant. All 9 wins were via unanimous decision. Actually, sorry. All nine wins were via decision, with only one of them being a split decision. There's a massive grappling advantage here. I don't think Lerone Murphy's going to have the strength to keep Movsar off of him. I think, yeah. I mean, Movsar averages about 4.6 takedowns per fight, landing at almost a 50% accuracy. And I don't think he's going to do much with the takedowns he's going to land. He's going to land these. Lerone Murphy has a lot of issues with takedown defense. I mean, if you looked at the Josh Emmett fight, against Lerone Murphy fighting Josh Emmett just picked him up. And I think that's something that he's obviously going to struggle with. And it's not like Movsar Evloev's jabs and boxing is horrible. It's pretty crisp. It's not the best thing in the world, but it is pretty crisp. But there's a clear hole in Lerone Murphy's game that he's going to struggle with. And I think Movsar is going to take advantage of that. And if not, we're just going to see a bunch of wrestling, and we're just going to be seeing time melt off the clock from all these takedowns and grappling and wrestling from Movsar. I'm going to do it, Movsar Evloev by decision. I think that's exactly how it's going to go. I'm not sure. I think maybe he lands 5, maybe 6 takedowns. I think maybe he lands 6 takedowns. It's very possible. But I don't really foresee a finish. I feel bad for Lerone Murphy. I do. He wants to keep it on the feet, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think, as I said, I think Evloev's just going to be he's a much stronger wrestler grappler, and he's going to take advantage of that. And he's going to take Lerone Murphy to a pretty boring decision. And it's just not going to be super exciting to watch. I hate to say it. I would love to be wrong, but I highly doubt it. So let's do a quick recap of all my predictions for the main card. Danny Silva via decision is my first one. Christian Leroy Duncan via knockout, maybe second round. Igor Bornusky, I think he gets it done in the distance. However, I think he will just knock out Austin Lane. This isn't a guy where he's going, if you hit him big, he's just you're not going to need to work the ground game and look for a submission after he knocks him down. You want Bornusky via knockout in the second round. Sam Patterson via knockout in the third round. However, I could easily see this going to decision as well. Luke Riley via decision, and then finally Movsar Evloev via decision. And those are all my verdict MMA picks. Follow me on the app. That'll be Harrison_scripted MMA on there. For my bet slip, here's exactly what I've put together. This one, I feel a little better about this one. Should be pretty good. First bet on, sorry, app is being slow. My first bet is Movsar Evloev to win via decision minus 117. Luke Riley by decision plus 132. Danny Silva by decision plus 420. Christian Leroy Duncan via knockout, KO, TKO, DQ plus 132. And then finally, Sam Patterson money line at plus 148. And on top of that, we also have a 2-legger where it's Luke Riley and Movsar Evloev at minus 104. That's all I have. For the prelims, there really isn't anything too crazy here. Yeah, I don't really want to talk about this. I think Nathaniel Wood gets the win here. I think that's something to look out for. Mason Jones, I'm interested to see. I watched him fight at UFC Fight Night Des Moines. He was having a lot of trouble on the feet against the hardest hitting 145er Jeremy Stevens, getting absolutely pieced up on the feet, and eventually just had to smudge Jeremy Stevens against the cage and wrestle him because he was losing on the feet and he was hurt bad. I think this could be upset potential. We'll have to see. I think those are kind of the two fights to look out for. But other than that, I mean, there really isn't anything too much to say. I'm hoping the cards get a little better. Adesanya versus Pyfer, not really looking much better. I'll be honest. Chase the Dream Hooper though. Things just don't really get too exciting up until UFC 327. I am impatiently waiting for this. I think you guys will like what we have to say. This is going to be an absolute bang. I cannot wait. But until then, this is what we're stuck with. So, anyways, thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, share the video, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your loved ones, tell your pets. I appreciate all the time you take out of your day to watch these, and I'll see you in the next video.